Hello again, welcome back everyone. LiquorHound here with you, and thank you for joining me once again for another spirit review video, but not just any spirit review video. This is a very, very special one because these whiskeys, especially this whiskey, I have taken a lot of time, a ton of pride in, because, of course, these are Saints Alley whiskeys. Saints Alley being a Total Wine Spirits Direct product that's been that way for the last, I think, 4 years on shelves. Of course, we've been working at this for probably good 6 years, maybe even 5 years. It's been about 4 to 5 years on the shelves. But yeah, this thing right here, this beautiful new bottle and box, is something that we've been working on in one form or another for the full 5 years. Okay. When we first started Saints Alley, and this is going to be a little bit long video, but I want you to know everything about these. Okay. When we first started Saints Alley, of course, we launched with the initial flagship Saints Alley, which is just port and cognac finished bourbon at 100 proof, and then we have the Herald, and the Herald was the Armagnac finish at 107 proof bourbon. Those were the two products we always had from the very beginning. Well, at the same time that we were doing those, and we had to experiment because we weren't sure if we were just going to do sourced Indiana bourbon, MGP, right? Column distilled bourbon that we age up in Texas for a year, 2 years, and then we add in a little bit of our own Ironroot grain to glass Texas bourbon to it, and then let that marry for a few months, and then we would fill up the finishing cask, whether it be the port, the cognac, the Armagnac, and so on. Well, we also at that time were experimenting also with adding Kentucky bourbon in there. So can't necessarily say what the name of that Kentucky distillery was, but again, beautiful rolling hills around it. Okay, and we took some of that, blended it in with that Indiana bourbon and our own Texas bourbon, and we actually filled up some Oloroso and PX casks. We weren't sure what we wanted to do with it exactly at that time. We just started aging it up, and it kept getting better and better. And each and every year, it was getting better. But we were, again, Total Wine was doing its thing as far as, and you, our consumers, were doing their thing as far as supporting us, buying our products at Total Wine. So the demand was really high on the port and cognac and the Armagnac finish. So much so that we actually had we had launched with a third bottle called the Heretic, which was a rum finish. We had to pause Heretic because we could not, we're so small. At that time, we were like a 6 employee distillery. It's family owned distillery. We can't we can't keep up 30, I think it was like 30-ish states at that time that Total Wine was in. We're three full lines. We just couldn't do it and keep the quality up. So we had to pause Heretic, did the two. We still have those Heretic barrels aging up, and they are fantastic. I'm going to do a special release with that one day. But that Oloroso and PX kept aging. And so for the full 5 years now, it's been just getting better and better, concentrating. And now when we did, we're launching our new bottle, which again, everything Saints Alley, everything Ironroot that we've ever seen in the past, from now, from February on, is going to be in these new bottles, custom bottles. It's got our new logo medallion of Ironroot right there on the front. The labels are cleaner, easier to read than these ever were on the Saints Alley side. So we want it to kind of be representative of what we're trying to do. We're trying to be classic. We're trying to create fantastic whiskeys that you're proud of. And I think this bottle kind of encapsulates all that in its look. But this is a Cigar Blend Herald. That's right, the Herald, the Armagnac finish that was 107, right? Well, this is a 10-year-old version of that. 10 to 13-year-old bourbons went into it. Yeah, and they were aged a full year in Armagnac casks. Again, those Oloroso and PX that was in there is 5 years. And to be honest, we didn't even have to use the whole barrels of that Oloroso and PX because it was so concentrated. We had to, again, we're always about balance. We're always about, I want you to get the nuances of the finishing cask. I don't want it to taste like a finishing cask. Because if this tastes like an Oloroso or a PX sherry, basically when they're together, it's called a cream sherry. If it tastes like a cream sherry and it's so dense, oh, it's so good, it's just go buy a cream sherry. No, this is a bourbon, and this is a cigar blend bourbon. So people always ask me, well, what does that mean to you? Well, I'm a big enthusiast of all things spirits and Cigars are fantastic. And so for me, I know what a cigar does. A cigar is going to do what a cigar is going to do, and I don't need this a whiskey or a spirit to act like a cigar. No, you don't do that. What you do is you find those nuances that, again, that complement a cigar. So I don't want it to taste like Lagavulin with the cigar ash. No, you don't want that. I mean, it kind of works, right? But I'm talking for this project, this bourbon, I wanted this to be old school bourbon. I wanted this to be rich and dense. I wanted to have, those kind of toffee tones and those big dense brown sugars and the plums and the figs, black cherries, brandied cherries. I wanted it to have coconut and leather, and of course that rich oak. And this one does it. Now, when we were working this blend, of course, Jonathan and I were tasting different cigars with it and trying to make sure the balance is there. So we would up the PX or back off the Olo, or a little more of the 13-year-old. We were trying to find that perfect balance where it's not bitter, it's not over oaked, and everything works with. I don't care if you're down to, to be honest, it'll work with a Connecticut, but you better put a cube in it. But if you want a medium or a medium full or full strength cigar, this phenomenal. I don't care what the brand is, because while the regular Herald was 107 proof, Armagnac finish anywhere from 3 months to 6 months for the standard. This was, again, full year in Armagnac at 114 proof. So the only thing we did here, we didn't add any water to it. The only thing we did was run it through a mechanical filtration. So we don't even chill filter it. We just want to get those real fine char particulates out of it. And I know. Because I'm a collector too, and I think it's cool sometimes when I have those raw casks, or even some of those old Mattingly bourbons back in the day when he would call it the good, right? They were jet black with so much char, and it would settle on the bottom in a big layer. They're fun, but to be honest, if you drink a whiskey, when you shake it up with that much kind of fine particulate in it, it really comes off dry. And so we don't want that. We want it to be an enjoyable all-around experience for you. And so Saints Alley, as always, is a blend of column distillate, in this case, Kentucky, Indiana, and our own Ironroot pot-distilled bourbon, all aged at least 10 years old. Again, Armagnac Olo PX, okay? Now, let's go ahead and get to the tasting. Because again, this thing, how to get it and price point. Price point at the distillery is going to be, and we had to run a lottery because we only had 200 bottles at the distillery. It was going to be $150 there. And the only reason we had to do $150 was because Total Wine told us it's going to be somewhere between $130 and $150. And by law, I don't think we're allowed to undercut them. So we had to go $150 for the distillery release. I'm not sure what they're going to do on their end when they release theirs, but I know it's going to be concierge. So if you sign up at Total Wine, sign up for their concierge, you'll get that email as soon as Saints Alley Herald Cigar Blend 10-year-old drops, and you'll be able to buy it. And I recommend buying it quick, because there's only going to, each store across the country might get a case, 2 if they're lucky. So that's 6 or 12 bottles, and that's it. But again, now this is where as always, I'll take my blender hat off, no problem. And I will put on the LiquorHound hat, as I usually always run anyway. Even when I'm blending, I'm always thinking as a consumer, is this worth my money? Am I going to feel basically cheated if I pay $80 for a whiskey and it tastes like $30? Now that we know all the details on the cigar blend, the price point, $130, $150, there's only 1,800 bottles in total. So the 200 at the distillery, that means 1,600 are going out across the country. Yeah, and now again, as a collector, when I blend, I'm thinking about you, right, and me, basically. So I'm going to be straightforward and honest with you with this bottle. And I will say, we tried this thing as we were working with cigars, not only with the different cigars, we were tasting it with different cigar blends throughout pretty much history of spirits. Because again, I've got old Dalmore cigar blends. I've got the original Magnus cigar blend batch 1. This is right there with it, because that had like 22 to 23-year-old bourbons in it. I know it had 18-year-old bourbon in it. This doesn't. 10 to 13. But again, a lot of that was in Texas. So yeah, it's going to taste older. But Again, everything was about balance. So here we go, on the nose. It's beautiful, beautiful nose. I think people are gonna they're gonna lose their minds on this bottle because again, I love whiskey. I love bourbon, and I know what great bourbon tastes like. This is great bourbon. It's toffee, right? It's definitely got toffee, but it's rich. Everything about this is dense, concentrate, just fantastic. Toffee, hint of maple, bunch of brown sugar, little bit of molasses in there, adding some depth. And then you get into the fruits, right? The fruits here, black cherries, really ripe, brandied at that. So brandied cherries. There's figs. There's honey. Yeah. Again, there's definitely got the fig date combo going on. Orange, like, it's almost like orange curacao, but natural, right? Everything in here is rich and natural. It's denser than an orange oil. There's that toffee has that slivered almonds in here. There's also candied pecans. There's a pastry tone beyond, um, and I know what it is because especially when this was first bottled and when we were first again mocking it up, working the blend, the one thing it always had was like a baklava, a honeyed pistachio. It definitely had those two. Some people will pick up the pistachio in this more like a cashew, and so that is still in there, but it is surrounded by all those other good tones, and there's cocoa, rich leather, balanced older oak, right? Now that's a key thing because older oak sometimes can go bitter on you. And it's in here and you'll smell it, but it's not dominating, right? You'll be able to pick up all those other tones I was talking about. You'll pick it up. And again, this is 114 proof, and you can get your nose all the way in this glass. Even without parting the lips, this thing is fantastic. All right, here we go. It won't drink 114. When you get this in your glass, you're going to say it's maybe 105, 100, 105. But it has old bourbon. If you ever have had old, and I'm talking like almost tax strip, Heaven Hill bottled in bond, where they get into that dark, rich goodness. Yeah, this is along those lines, okay? All right, here we go on the palate. Ooh, yeah. It's a medium high viscosity. Wow, there's even clove anise in there. A little hint of anise. But when you taste it, you're going to get all those things I just described. They're all going to hit you. They all kind of tumble in on top of each other, almost like dominoes. They just start layering in. But the figs, the dates, again, all that kind of toffee, that cocoa, that leather, that rich oak. There's also um, a little bit of a lightly shaved coconut. And this thing, the coconut aspect in here, it develops as it oxidizes. There's a spot in here where there's a lot of it. And it'll kind of, it's always in there, but it's either in the background or sometimes a little stronger. But that, anytime I get coconut in bourbon, it reminds me of the good old Stetzel Wellers. They always had the coconut. But again, it's like, it's dense, it's fudgy. Along with that toffee, there's fudge in the mid palate. The spice swell that's in there, it's, again, there's a little bit of cinnamon and there's that anise and the clove, but everything never jumps out at you. This thing is like the biggest, most cushiony bourbon pillow you can imagine. And it tastes like bourbon. When you taste this, you won't say, oh, it's Armagnac or oh, it's Oloroso or PX. No, no, it's going to be great bourbon. But when you sit there and you think about it and you taste it and you're like, why is that finish just running and running? Why is it? Yeah, it's those casks, but everything has been so proportioned and balanced for us as blenders. We're all about making it a full round experience. We want to have a fantastic entry, a hefty mid palate, and a long train smoke running finish is what we want on this. Not literal smoke, but you know what I mean. It runs long like train smoke. Oh my goodness. That baklava thing, it's in there. It's greatness. But it definitely has old bourbon character, and I love that about it. Spent again, a lot of this has spent 5 years, 10 years here in Texas. That Ironroot, 10-year-old, and I think everybody, I hope everybody loves it as much as I do. I got a feeling you will because we have blended this not only when we blend. We of course we have staff there now. We're up to 11 employees, right? And we make sure when we work in these and we come up with a mock and we're like, we really like this, and we go try it with different, again, cigars, we'll take it to them and let them taste it, get their input. And then I have tasted this with some close friends and gotten their input. And some of them are huge cigar aficionados. And so I know this works, and I'm super happy to bring this to you. Of course, again, I hope you're able to get your hands on it. Um, you won't regret it. And if you do, and you get to taste this, I don't care if it's from a friend of yours, please come back and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought. I mean, this finish is just ridiculous. I mean, it's on par. On par. It's more balanced than Buckner's 15, Buckner's 17, any of the Buckner's 13s, even the great ones, the old Buckners when they was. Again, those were Heaven Hill back in the day, and those are fantastic single barrels. I'll put this up on it, and it'll come away better balanced. I mean, through the water. Jeez Louise. Still tasting it. There we go. Yeah, one more. Okay, I have to get my palate ready for the Nobleman Rye. All right, Nobleman Rye. Now this thing, of course, this was, people all used to ask me, well, which one's your favorite? Look, I love port and cognac. Port and cognac now with the white port in it, with the tawny and those old, 20 to 40-year-old cognac casks that we have. It's fantastic. I love port and cognac in the summer. I'll throw a cube on it, even though it's only 100 proof. Throw a cube, go sit out on the back patio. It loves it. The Herald, the Armagnac finish, the regular one, right? Of course, we know this one. I love that as well. I'll sip that neat all day long. It is a great bourbon. It's what I want for just an everyday pour. But when they ask me what my baby is, it's always been Nobleman, okay? Because when we first started Nobleman, it spent a full year in Tokai cask, and when we bottled it, the thing was it kept getting better. And at that time, Total Wine would ask us, hey, you have a special release ready? And this was like 3 months in, and we were like, it's almost ready. And then we tasted it at like 6 months, and we're like, oh, it's getting better and better. And we were so happy with its progress. And they would ask us again. And we're like, it's not yet. It's not quite there. At 9 months, they're asking a third time, and we're like, it's fantastic. Everybody would love it at 9 months. But we aged it a full year, and then we released it, and Nobleman was like no other rye. I'll say that from day one, batch one, it was like no other rye. Batch 2 and 3 was the one that actually won the big award. I actually reviewed that one, so if you go back and search St. Sally under my LiquorHound channel, you'll see that review. That's the one that won the 2024 Best American Rye by the World Whiskey Awards. That's Whiskey Magazine. That is a blind competition, and it is a tiered blind competition, which means that Nobleman went up against other ryes from the region that were submitted, won that competition in a blind, then went to the national competition, and went up against all the regional winners in a blind. And I remember, uh, yeah, there was some big Buffalo Trace names, I think, in that rye category. And then in that blind, it went to London for the world competition. It didn't win the London competition. It lost to the same one that had won the year previous, which was Millstone 10-year-old. I have that bottle. I bought that bottle because I had to find out why it, you know, didn't win that. To be honest, everybody who's ever tasted those two side by side has always been like, I don't know how you didn't win. And I said, well, I think it's because the European palate is different than the American palate. And so what we find to taste like a young rye, they enjoy that. But if I crafted that blend, because I definitely could make that blend flavor profile with careful selection of younger ryes, it wouldn't sell half as good as Nobleman sells here in the U.S. Nothing wrong with that. Again, different palates, different countries, right? So I'm not mad about it. It's perfectly fine. I'm going to keep making Nobleman rye. People are going to still love it, and that's where I'm at with it. And that's perfectly. I sleep well at night with this. But this is batch 5. Now, batch 5 has spent another full year because we have come to the point now where Nobleman is released once a year at Total Wine. September, October, usually. And it gets to spend a whole year, and we'll buy new Tokai casks. We're in the process of buying them right now. We're just in Vegas doing a big show where we showcased this one, the Cigar Blend, Herald, and we were talking about getting in the new Tokai cask. So batch 6, to be honest, I think we're going to be, when we change over to this new bottle style, I think we're going to be dropping the batches because we're going to end up going with laser codes eventually. And every batch, we've been working so hard to make sure we compare it to the previous batches, and we're always trying to improve. And now with our 2 new warehouses on site, we have a big barrel warehouse that's new and a blending and bottling facility. It gives us more space to age more barrels, to bring in more barrels. And with that, I have more, basically almost like a painter's palette is now quadrupled in size. So yeah, so we're able to keep improving, and that's where I wanted to get all along. So instead of us having Herald 29 or all that, it's going to be Herald, but you can know it's going to be fantastic and it's going to be great each and every time you buy it. And that's the whole point of my philosophy on whiskey. I never wanted to start a brand and then be fantastic and then watch it fall off. Nope. I told them from day one, we're going to start this brand. It's going to be great, and then we're going to work to make it even better. And that's what we've been doing. All right. Enough. Get to the tasting, right? All right, Nobleman 5. On the nose. Old school rye. Back in the day, you used to get 10 to 15-year-old ryes. That's what this is. The orange oil, the clove, the leather, that's the core component. Of course, in this one, you definitely get that fresh rye character as well, even though age on this one is about, a lot of that was like 8-ish to 9, 10-year-old ryes. But black cherry, a little bit of guava, I would call this one medjool dates here, pipe tobacco with that clove and leather and rich oak, orange oil. And the orange oil here, it almost comes off like I don't know, almost like a Grand Marnier. It's really rich with the cognac. Grand Marnier is the orange liqueur with the cognac together. But let's taste it. It's 107 proof and it never drinks it. Yeah. Medium high viscosity. Not quite as high viscosity as this one. This one's almost high viscosity. But definitely medium high viscosity here. They don't drink their proof. We do a lot of work to make sure they don't drink their proofs. We pull those barrels in the optimum temperatures because, again, a barrel is like it's almost like a sponge, right? It absorbs whiskey and it contracts whiskey. And so you want to catch it not when it's pushing everything into the barrel, or when it's sucked everything into the wood, you want to catch it at the right moment. And so we do this intentionally. We also add water to barrels called élevage, where we'll add a liter of water at a time every now and then when a barrel needs it. When it starts getting too tight and too hot, high ABV, might add 1 liter of water to it just to help pull a little more of those wood sugars out. Calm it down. So this one, it's fantastic. Yeah, you get that fresh kind of rich rye characteristic that you would want with that little rye spice. But then you get that orange oil. And again, that clove and leather. That guava tone, that's the weird thing. That's the thing that's going to hit people is, what is that? And it's the black brandy cherries with the guava entwined with it. That's the unique tone. There is going to be, you'll pick up the clove and a little bit of hint of like a little touch of licorice in there. Some people might call this almost like a cola aspect to it, almost like cherry cola syrup, like it's got that dense concentrate feel to it like that. In with that rich, again, orange oil. Oof. I love this. This thing is fantastic. And I love it each and every time we do it, but this batch 5 is phenomenal. Again, moving forward, it may not have a batch number, but don't worry about it. Trust me, you'll never taste a St. Sally or Ironroot product where we didn't always put our best foot forward, because that's all we do. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video review, and I hope you're able to find 1 or 2 of these. Again, this is definitely out right now here in October. This is on Total Wine shelves right now. And so hopefully you can find it, get hold of it. This one, I wish you luck. So if you like this kind of unbiased, straightforward reviews, please consider joining me over at patreon.com/LiquorHound. That's where I'm able, with your support, to continue buying bottles like this. Of course, these on the blender, I was able to get these bottles. But in general, for all the other 99.9% of LiquorHound videos, self-purchase those bottles to give you straightforward, again, unbiased reviews. And it's one of those things I mean, if you ask me, it's a dying art. And I don't know how much longer I can do it, to be honest. I'm going to keep trying to do it. But again, my blending takes up a lot of time. So thank you, as always, for being here. I greatly appreciate each and every one of my viewers. Keep leaving those great comments, and I'll get back to them just as soon as I can. Everyone have a great day, and cheers.